Okay, we are now Mishnah Hay. Masechet Brochos, Mishnah Hay. I think somebody said this last week. Maskirin? Yeah, I think so, right?
Which one?
Anybody want to say this? Maskirin? Mishnah Hay.
We did say this.
We did? We said it last week?
So.
Okay. So, first thing is, before you can't do anything really before that, basically. What is this Mishnah really all about? What's the central idea here? Just from the statements.
Right?
Who?
Zechiras.
Time.
Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim.
Saying Yitzias Mitzrayim at night.
What?
He is correct.
At night?
It's not about Yitzias, right? It's about when do we say Yitzias. The mitzvah of Yitzias Mitzrayim is of Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim.
We can pinpoint it more because daytime was a given.
Is there? This is the preliminary idea. You see, the Mishnah goes right into it. Is there a chiyuv to say Zechiras Mitzrayim at night? That is the central idea. That is the focus, the main issue of the Mishnah. So Omer Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, so he says what? I'm like 70 years old, of course, which he wasn't. By the way, you know how old he really was?
18.
16.
16.
He mentioned 16. So his wife told him, so they wanted to make him. It's unbelievable. The Rosh Yeshiva, 16-year-old teenager. It's beyond belief. So his wife told him, you shouldn't take the job because it doesn't pass. It's not covered that a teenager gets up and gives a shir to all the chachamim. Because we're looking at the major, it's astounding how a 16-year-old individual, I don't care who he is, should be able to get up and preach. Preach means give a shir, a chabur or whatever it was, right? To the chachamim. It's beyond belief. So, it's certainly not, well, whatever. I mean, it's astonishing. What can I say? So obviously, the Brochos wanted him to do it. So anyway, he made him look white, He grew a beard overnight. Probably had a beard, but it turned white. It's a nest. So he should be able to do it. So he shouldn't look like a 16-year-old kid. It's unbelievable. Obviously, he wasn't at risk. But it's astonishing. His level of yediyah or of Torah is just astounding. I've never heard of something like that. Such an incredible.
Even the Gra?
No, even the Gra. I mean, the Gra was incredible. The Gra was like at 12 years old, I think. He finished his Zavach Menachas in one night. One night. Not bad. Even that doesn't compare to this.
You're saying relative to the Dar.
Relative to the door, he had to get up in front of Chazal. Right? He had to know everything. I mean, and be able to machadish to them. I mean, they had it all. He had to get up and give a shir, which means chedushim. So he had to know much more than the Vilna Gaon. Astonishing.
I wasn't talking in magnitude.
Anyway.
I was talking in terms of relative to the Dar.
I'm
saying relative to the Dar, you can make an analogy.
Oh, you mean how between the ratio between the Gaon and his door? Maybe, yeah. Okay. Look, obviously we're looking here at 200 IQs, which is off the charts, so on and so forth. But anyway, so he whatever. But there's a chishita Omar. So what is he saying? I wasn't zoicha. So what does the fact that he looks like 70 have to do with the schus? What do these guys say? I mean, okay, he's 70. Okay, it's a miracle. So what does that have to do with lo zechishita Omar? He's trying to prove something here, right? We're just learning the Mishnah, we're not even organizing, and so on, Anybody know? Something's going on.
He says that he didn't win. The Rav teaches it like nitzachti.
No, so that relates to, no, but what is the reference to I'm like 70 years old? So what? You're not 70. So what are we talking about here? You know what I'm saying? Maybe I have an idea.
I mean, you're asking what's the connection between the nace of the Kebenchi,
the fact that he looked like 70,
which is a nace,
nigla,
and the
fact that he wasn't able to convince the Chachamim.
The whole reason for the nest was so that they would listen to him.
That's true. That's a good point.
Sounds like he's
But
not.
they would have to interpret it that way.
Right.
We don't know if they interpret it that way.
So that's lo zachisi, even with the nace, lo zachisi.
The purpose is that they should listen to me,
There's the nace was
Or that I should be
one
able
of
to
the
give a
nace
share.
was that
that I should be able to give a share in the first place.
Right.
That I should even assume the position.
Right.
That doesn't mean you have to listen to me. You know, I can differentiate right there. But the truth is that obviously, if you know, the connection would be if a ness happened to him, where what do you call it? That clearly shows this person's kedusha and his knowledge. That he was roy lekach. You know, that he's roy to be a Rosh Yeshiva. You know? So you would think if the Rebbeinu Shalom went out of his way to indicate to everybody that this person is roy to be a Rosh Yeshiva because and roy his kedusha and his knowledge and so on. So one would say, well, if the Rebbeinu Shalom is masking, maybe we should listen to him. But that's almost because he was the Rosh Yeshiva. He's still going to argue with Rosh Yeshiva. That happens every day. You know what I'm saying? But if the Rebbeinu Shalom is masking by making this ness, so it's very likely that he's correct. You know what I'm saying? So that would be the connection.
is that true? Because again, I'll bring in the Gemara from Bava Metzia, where Rabbi Eliezer was endorsed by Shamayim. Or is
Yeah.
or is that only because they
No, you
endorsed the
could.
Shita?
You could differentiate over there because in a certain sense, Torah is given, and now it's up to the Chazal to interpret Torah. You know, Shemaim can no longer have maskim by God's statement. This is the way. You know, which is interesting. It's almost like some kind of a chutzpah in a certain sense. I mean, the Brochos agrees, you know, with who is it, Rabbi Eliezer, you know, and you disagree. No, excuse me, Rabbi Eliezer? Yeah, you know, the walls are bending, everything's happening, right? You know, but no, the Chazal understood that no, Torah is not by Shemaim anymore. It was given once, and that's it. And now it's the job of the Chazal to do the rest. So that's because the Brochos was masked to a specific halacha. But here it's not a halacha, he's just masking you should be Rosh Yeshiva. I'm asking that you be Rosh Yeshiva. But clearly, the Rosh Yeshiva said he's a Rosh Yeshiva doesn't necessarily mean, you know, that you can't argue with him. But the fact that Rosh Yeshiva says you could be Rosh Yeshiva usually means, well, Rosh Yeshiva agrees with his shitois, his view, his ability to machadish and interpret.
He's a superior in that sense.
Well, yeah, his enormous aptitude. So maybe for that you should take his words seriously and maybe say, okay, we agree. Because the Rosh Hashanah is masking to the position, which clearly means you have the ability of that position. So that's very likely, you know, what the Chazal have there. Hey, all he's masking is your position, that's all. You mask to your shita. You know, whatever was going on there and so on. Anyway.
How did he propose his shita without a pasuk? He was proposing his shita because I said so?
No. It's a good question. You know, it doesn't say here. You know, stop. It could be that you can maybe look at different ways. You know, maybe he said, it could be that he had because he didn't have to prove you have to say Kriyash Mitzrayim, Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. You didn't have to prove that. We already knew that because it was a chiv to say it during the day. Mm-hmm. So it could be with a svara, he said you have to say it at night. Why? Why do you have to say it at night? Well, you figure one time is enough. Why should you have to say it at night?
Well, we said whether in a time of Giloi and a time of Hester.
No, that's Shema. Not in Tzrayim.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Tzrayim refers to the Exodus, which is the exit, which means the Yitzir. What the Jews left.
You want to
Why not say it once?
You want to svara for that? There's no.
Yeah.
There's no. Why? I mean,
no, that's. I'm not saying if there's a svara.
Yeah, I mean, anything there was.
Yeah, give me a svara. Don't shy away. What's a svara? Why would you have to say it at night?
I mean, night is Mitzrayim. Day is out of Mitzrayim. So at
why
night we want to get out of Mitzrayim. So at night we mentioned we want to get out. I mean, it's poshut.
I don't know.
It's poshut tomorrow. It's night now. We want to get out.
We want to get out. So what? So therefore we have to mention it. You only have to mention if you got out. Not if we want to get out.
He's saying-
They want to get out for the last 210 years. So, you know what I'm saying? So we should mention...
at the end of the tunnel.
What's that?
He's saying there's light at the end of the tunnel.
No.
Something like that.
No. What is Zecher? What is Yitzias Mitzrayim?
Oh, it's Zecher, we did it already, we are out. Oh, obviously we should not say it at night, definitely. No
Yeah,
question
so
about
then
it.
why would Rabbi Elazar Azariah have an assumption? You know, okay, he's 70, the Rosh is masking to his position, so therefore it would be nice to listen to me. You know, so why even say that? So clearly it has to be on the fact based on the fact that there's a chiyuv by day. So it's not like he's making up something that has no chiyuv whatsoever, and all of a sudden he comes along without a pasuk and says, by the way, there's a mitzvah min Torah. Excuse me. It's a mitzvah min Torah, it's got to say somewhere. You know, so it's not that, difficult, you know. But the real question here is what? Why should he say it at night? You know what I'm saying? And the guy's got a svara, come on.
So what do we say Yitzias Mitzrayim altogether? Like, why is the Torah saying to say Yitzias Mitzrayim?
You gotta remember, you have to mention the fact that our people left Egypt.
It's for emunah purposes.
No.
What's the purpose of Yitzias Mitzrayim by Yom?
But, no. That has nothing to do with Yoim. Why mention it all together?
Yeah,
I don't know what's the Yoim.
I agree with you.
We're into when, right?
Right. So why mentioning Yitzias Mitzrayim altogether? Is this for emunah? Like I should remember that Hashem took me out, so Hashem will take me out again.
Well, the simplest idea. Anybody have a svara for that?
Of course, we said that that's Mechayiv us and Avodah.
He just says it's for
What's the svara? No, he's saying the svara.
Oh.
He's
Karas HaTov.
very good. Gentleman just sat down. He already got the answer. Karas HaTov.
Should have come earlier.
What?
Should have come earlier. Yeah.
Karas HaTov. Because what does it say? If the Russian hadn't redeemed us, we'd still be there. I mean, in whatever form that means, whatever, and so on and so forth. But it obviously doesn't mean we'd be in Egypt, but we'd still have Zoyama without getting into the whole Pash and so on, But the Hakaras HaTov, therefore, as Hakaras HaTov, in tremendous gratitude that the Baruch Hashem changed us. It's not that we exited Egypt. We really exited the whole concept of what Egypt is. Slavery to the self, and to the wants and to needs and so on and so forth. Whatever, But, so that would be the reason why Yitzias might be so pivotal. Because it literally took an ummah, a nation that was slaves, had slave mentalities, and created a whole nation of Khan. I mean, enormous spiritual elevation and so on and so forth. So the transformation, the Hakaras HaTorah, that the Baruch Hashem transformed us, that's the key word here. He transformed us from a nation that was inferior in a certain sense to a nation of incredible superiority in spirituality, and so on. Okay, but why at night? What's the Havamina that at night?
So what's that? Hakaras HaTov is mechayev, right? It's not just for Hakaras HaTov per se. Is the purpose only Hakaras HaTov, or is it in order to be mechayev us?
Hakaras HaTov is a mechayev al pi svara.
Okay.
Yes?
Yeah.
But there has to be a tzivui. Has to be a tzivui. It can't be just a svara. But why night? I'll tell you why. Because there's two redemptions here. That's why. What's the first redemption? What does redemption mean? Freedom. To be freed, correct? Oh, right? What was the redemption at night? What happened at night that there was a gul at night? That's why Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah says you have to say it at night too. And there was a gula by day. So we know what the gula by day was, right?
We left.
We left physically. What's gula by night?
Paro said, "Go out, get out."
Excellent. That's it. Paro said, "Okay."
An option.
Well, it wasn't an option. He said, "You can leave." He gave permission. He removed his shlita over Klal Yisrael, and he said, "You can exit." Wow. That's a geula. That is a redemption. To relinquish power, even if they're still physically in Egypt, right? So now if they're physically in Egypt, it's not because they have to be there. They want to wait for the day, fine, because it says like no, night. Okay, fine. So they want to wait, right? But now they wait because they want to wait. not because they can't go. You see? So the inability to exit is no longer because of paroi. It is because of their choice that they want to leave by day. Or whatever that is, you see? So that's a geula. So Reb Elazar ben Azariah holds, therefore, that you mention it twice. You know? You should know one thing. It's like, we say this all the time. Dayenu, if Paroi would have said, you can go, you guys want to stay, it's up to you. That itself is a geula. That's roy for Zeicha Yetzias Mitzrayim. Because then they could have lived as what? Free men. When you tell a guy you can go, you're no more a slave. Right? So what you've just gone is from slavery to freedom. That's comparable, I hate to say this, to what?
That's a Mandela.
Who?
Mandela?
No. No. What's the greatest event in American history? Who?
Abe Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln. Avraham Lincoln. In 1863, Emancipation Proclamation. Hey, good. The Emancipation Proclamation, where he said no more slavery. Now if you want to stay with your master because he's giving you room and board, it's up to you, right? You could physically still live with the guy. But that's unbelievable. It's the end of the end of the legal state called Avdus. That's what Paroi said. No more. You're free men. So that's that's enough too. That's unbelievable. But, so they could have chosen to do what? Stay in Egypt. With all the stuff in Egypt, right? But the second geula so the first was a transformation in what terms? In legal terms. So think about that. Because legally there were no more slaves. But it wasn't a transformation of this person from Gashmis to Ruchnius. But when they left Egypt, they left the whole influence of Egypt, so then they went from a nation that was Geshem, into the material world, into all the Tyrus and the Zima for Egypt, and they left, and they became a Ruchnistic nation. So it's two transformations, if you think about that. One is a transformation legally, and the second is a transformation spiritually. How's that sound? Make sense?
Yes.
Good.
What's that? First is legal and second one is?
The first is a transformation, it's a legal concept. You're no longer an Eved. It's
Right.
legal.
Right. And second?
By law.
Yeah.
The second, and they could have stayed in Egypt. They're free men. The second is geula of what? Is they left Egypt, the Geshem, the tomb of Egypt, and therefore they changed as an Ummah from Geshem to Ruchni.
So it's more spiritual concept already.
Well, it's a transformation of the self, sure. Not a legal transformation. It is a spiritual transformation. It's a different type of it's a character transformation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's two different. So they're both Yitzi. So therefore, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is
like
mechadish.
external freedom, internal freedom.
Look, you could look at it that way. Yeah, okay, yeah. You can look at that. They were free, not just free from Paroi, but free from the Yitzhahara and the Tumah and so on. So there are two freedoms. So Rabbi Elazar holds clearly, therefore, that Minasvara, you should do both. Because there's a course to take for both. Even if they're like Dayenu. Right? That's the whole Dayenu. What's the Chiddush of Dayenu by the Dagoda? Ilu, it's the song goes, right? The Chiddush is that there's a course for every single step. What is the Chiddush of Dayenu? You ever wonder? It's the Dayenu business. Right? Dayenu means it's sufficient for what? To be Makkah Toiv to Rebbeinu Shalom. Every single step.
Oh,
That's what Dayenu. What?
I always understood that Yenu means it would have been enough.
Enough
You
what?
could have stopped the Geula right there.
Come on. It cannot be that.
No,
Well, yeah.
I understand it differently now.
Yeah.
I think it's enough, it's sufficient in order to be
To give
for me
praise.
to give praise.
To be praised, yes. To have Makkah Toiv. Each thing, you know.
As if somebody gives $1,000, so it's to thank
Torah.
for each dollar, basically.
Yeah, I thank you for each dollar, yeah. It's all, you know. Anyway, that's Pesach Torah. You know? But anyway, that's where Rebbe Eliezer holds. Fine. So, anyway, so he obviously didn't have a pasuk. Until Ben Zoyma came along, he gave him a pasuk. Right? Kol Yemei Chayecha. right? The Yomin and the Leilas and the Chachamim said what? They disagreed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They said no. So then the real question, of course, is what do Chachamim hold? Do they hold you don't have to say it at night at all?
Of course. I suppose that's what they say.
No. Maybe they hold you don't have to say it at all, or what's the alternative?
It's optional.
It's optional. No. No. You don't need them to tell you it's optional if there's no chiyuv. You can do whatever you want. That would make sense. So what do the Chachamim, what can they hold? We're not clear yet, but what can they hold? So they say Olam Hazeh and the Havi
It's not
Mashiach.
gula. It's not a real gula until you actually leave.
You could say that. You could say it's not a real gula. But what do they really hold in terms of the halacha?
You don't say it at night.
Who?
You don't say it at night.
That's option one. Or you do say it at night, but it's midrabanan.
Oh, they don't say it. They don't say it at all.
No, but what are they arguing on, Rabbi Elazar? That you don't say it at all?
They say no. They argue
Or you can't prove Minat Torah.
on the posuk. Yeah.
So therefore, but that doesn't mean you don't say it. Maybe it's
Right.
midrabanan. So you can't jump. You gotta, you know what I'm saying? And maybe they do too, but in other words, what's Rabbi Elazar trying to do? Two things. Yes? What is Rabbi Elazar ben Azai trying to do? What?
Straight to accomplish that we should say says Muslim at night, and it should be the right.
Correct. That's it. He wants to do both things.
And this is on the right.
So if they say no, they could be saying no, that what?
It's
It's
not
not the right, so we still have to do it. Or you don't have to say it at all at night. So we don't know. But we do know that Rabbi Eliezer is trying to accomplish both things. That you have to say it, and that's saying it at night. That's have to say it at night. And saying at night is what? Is Minat Torah. So when they say no, well, the no is to which idea?
Well, I'm not sure.
You see what I'm saying?
What I see from the Mishnah is, I wasn't zoiche that this every time should be said at night. And
Yeah, but-
that means all together.
It may be, but you don't know. It could Baleilos Minat Torah.
Yeah, sorry.
Just because the Mishnah left it out is not, can't prove, because the Mishnah is very abrupt. I should say very brief. There's no raya from that. You know what I'm saying? Great. How's it sound? What am I doing?
Reading the Mishnah.
I'm reading the Mishnah and doing what? What am I doing?
Analysis. Is that analysis?
Yes, what I'm doing is learning the Mishnah analytically. But you can learn the Mishnah analytically without having, not necessarily, but thinking is enough to understand and analyze the Mishnah. You see, that's what I want to show you. You don't have to go, what's the first thing everybody would do? Oh, let's see, what's the Rav say, what's Rashi say? Okay, you'll do that fine because you need to know Pshat. If you don't know Pshat, clearly then you need to go to one of the Meforshim.
Right.
Yes? But that doesn't take away your obligation to analyze with your own mind. You understand what I'm saying? And many people don't do that. They don't do that. They relinquish their ability to think. Because basically they say, well, I can't think. I need a pirush to tell me what's going on. Well, sometimes you do if it's too brief, but they overdo it. I'll never forget. I once asked whatever. It was a Rashiva. I said, why did they learn? I don't know. I picked a Masechta, in yeshiva, why don't they learn, let's say, kindness? He says, what do you mean learn kindness? He said, there's no Meforshim on it. So I walked away and said, that's incredible. You have any idea how much you can get out of kindness without Meforshim? And then with Meforshim, how much you can get. But what does it mean? What do you mean? The mind thinks by itself. You can derive an incredible amount of structure, of analysis and synthesis just from thinking. Even without, you can see how much you could work around. Yeah, we don't have all the answers, so fine. But you remember when I told you, what's the famous statement I always tell you? Chance favors the prepared mind. Remember that statement? It favors the primary. If you, in other words, there's an enormous amount that you could think about, and that you prepare yourself for what the Mefoshim are really answering, because everything they say is really the answer to an unstated question that you should have had, and then there's the answer. You see, that's the way you have to learn. Well, when you look at of course I had the question. Oh, I see what he's answering. You see what I'm saying? So you can certainly do that ability, you know. So that's what we have. What do we have so far in this Mishnah?
Central idea.
We have what's called the central idea. What's the central idea of this Mishnah? Remember the CI? What's the central idea of the Mishnah?
Saying Yetzias Mitzrayim at night.
Is there a chiyuv to say Zechiras Mitzrayim, right? At night. Period. That's the essential idea. Now, let's work our way backwards. So then what's the PI?
Central idea area.
Well, let's go back. You know, what's the preliminary idea? Every Mishnah has preliminary information.
There's mitzvahs here.
Right? You know, because, remember I told you, Mishnah is an intermediate text. It assumes that you know what went before, and then it jumps right in the middle. You know, so what you really have to do is go back to toward the beginning. So what's the first idea?
Mitzvah Yetzias Mitzrayim.
Is there a mitzvah, right, to say
It's
it's right? That's one. Two.
Frequency.
No.
How many times?
No.
When?
the posuk probably.
No. Think sequentially. You have to be. It's like a programmer, right? Think sequentially and logically. One. Although you may disagree. First thing is there a mitzvah, or the concept that there is a mitzvah to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim? One. Two. What's the text? How do I mention it? How do I mention it? What? Give me the text. Three. How often do I have to mention this? Four. Right?
When?
When? Right? And then number five, the Mishnah. So the Mishnah comes in at the fifth question. You know? We know what the text, we know that there is a chiyuv. The chiyuv is vayomer. That's the text, right? Frequency is twice, right? And when is the day, night? That's the fifth. Is there a chiyuv to say it at night? This is the preliminary ideas of this Mishnah.
I don't know if the text really comes so early, maybe because there's no text. Chachamim just said, let's do it, let's make a text.
Well, it's always good to ask, well, how do I makayim the mitzvah? Before you get into the conditions, what's more important, when or what? With what do I fulfill the mitzvah? Which is more fun, which is
Of course
earlier.
what?
What?
Of course what?
What?
Why is this wrong?
Because we have to know what to mention
Maybe
before when.
16 with the white beard.
Oh, I'm getting there. I'm not 16. I'll be 16 in the next Gilgal. Not now. What? What do I do? What do you mean? Okay, I mentioned now what? What? And the answer is Vayomer. Then we can ask, okay, so what are the conditions now? So now we know the essential idea. There is a mitzvah, this is how you fulfill the mitzvah. Okay, what are the conditions? When? Or how many times? When? And then the Mishnah comes to answer that question. You see, it's so much easier when you have that located, where the Mishnah is. Fine. So that's the preliminary ideas. So the Mishnah is number 5. Now is the CI, the central idea. The central idea is really idea number 5. Is there a chiyuv to say it at night? You know what I'm saying? So that would be the central idea. What's the central idea area, the CIA, as they say? What's the area, remember? Because what we're doing now is analyzing. But we need to synthesize. We need to look at the overall. Where does this thing fit? Right? What?
I mean, we put it in Shema really.
Who?
We put it in area of Shema really because
Well,
because
because
it happens to be Chazal put it there
so therefore, where would you put it?
next to Shema.
How many steps on above the preliminary idea we should go? Meaning, we had 4 steps in the preliminary idea before we
Yeah.
had to our Mishnah. When you say the central idea area, should we go back to the previous step in the preliminary ideas, or should we go back?
No, you
all the
have to
way?
go up. You have to look what's called the big picture.
How high? Right.
You know,
Meaning, I could say the central idea area is the when of
No,
discussing Yetzias
no, it's a
Mitzrayim.
condition. No.
If I say it's Yetzias Mitzrayim, is that the answer? Yetzias
Yeah,
Mitzrayim?
it could be, okay, this is all about a specific mitzvah called Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's one possibility.
Okay.
But we don't want to settle on
It's
that,
an
do we?
extension of Shema. That's
Oh.
how we put it.
But we want to do more. Because we want to say that Shema has a textual expansion.
Yeah.
Not only does it have the first two parshas, which is the Shema, but Chazal did what? They connected the kiyum of a mitzvah of Zecher Yetzias Mitzrayim, they connected it to the exact same mitzvah as Shema. So therefore, what's it called? Shema expansion, or what accompanies the Shema? It's called the Shema accompaniments. And we already learned an accompaniment. What's the first accompaniment we learned?
The Brochos.
The Brochos, exactly. The Brochos is an expansion, right, where Shema is expanded and has accompanying Brochos, even though it doesn't have to, because the Brochos are a separate mitzvah, right? Sheva b'yom l'alticha, right? We learned that in the beginning, and this is an extension, right? In other words, this always accompanies the Shema, which is interesting.
So are we like...
So the area can be two areas in a certain sense. The area of this mitzvah, and that's how we can synthesize it. One is that it belongs to Yetzias Mitzrayim as an singular mitzvah, individual mitzvah. But in reference to Brochos, what we're learning, it's really an accompaniment of Shema. That's why we have to look at it that way.
So are we putting expansions and extensions
Together
under accompaniment?
accompaniments, correct? Yes.
Like the new...
Correct, yeah. So we have three things going on. We have the Shema, we have the extension called Yetzias Mitzrayim, and we have the expansion called the Brochos. That's three things, three different sections in a mitzvah called Shema, which is very important. And therefore, each one will now have its categories. When and where, how often, what's the text, etc. So on the left side will be all the categories, and on the top will be Shema, the Shema and its accompaniments. See, so we now know that we're dealing with three different ideas in Shema: its extension and its expansion. Its extension as part of the text, and its expansion as part of, and they're all both accompaniments. They accompany the Shema. It's clear, no more confusion. And now all the halachas will be dealing with one of the three. Are we dealing with the expansion? Or are we dealing with the brachas? Are we dealing with Mitzrayim? Or are we dealing with the Shema? There you are. It's clear. And then each category of that, okay, what, is it min haTorah midrabanan? What's the text? When? Or rather, how often? Frequency. When? And there can be other things as the Mishnah continues, you see. So what are we really doing? Achieving clarity by looking at the big picture. And now, so we're looking at the first three prakim which deal with Shema. You clearly see how every single halach and every Mishnah, where it exactly fits. That's clarity. And in the end, that's what you want to achieve. Now, as part of it, which is what we did, you can ask, well, why does Rabbi Elazar hold this twice? Why do you have to say twice? So that's already more hashkafidik, or whatever.
Two types of freedom, whatever.
Well, but that's very important. The concept of two transformations: a legal transformation and a spiritual transformation. You can make a whole shit on that, just on those two concepts. You know what I'm saying? That the Bereshit changes legally and spiritually. Wow, it's gewaldig. So therefore he holds, therefore you need to say it twice. Because both occurred at the same time, or rather, one after the other. That's hashkafa, that's a drasha that you can get up there. You know what I'm saying?
Acha de Rosh ben Zevon.
That's right, yeah. Okay, great. So that was the, and so on. So we have the preliminary ideas, we have the central idea, and we have the central idea area, which is either Mitzrayim, or in the larger picture, the accompaniment of Shema. You know what I'm saying? How's all that sound? And then there are things we want to answer, So Rebbe Elazar here clearly holds that min haTorah it's day and night. The Chachamim will hold that it's day but not night. But we don't know what not night means. You know, does not night mean at all? Well, not night means it's not minat Torah but midrabanan. So for that already, you need to go to the Pir Purushim. You see, but what we've done, which is very important, you've created an infrastructure for understanding the Mishnah without even going to any Mefarshim. That's what you've done. Thinking. You know. And but it's amazing how much you can derive just from thinking and so. You know. Great. Where are we up to now?
Second Perek?
Yeah, well, actually up to the second Perek. Wow.
So I'm sorry. In the structure that we're going to do.
Oh,
the when.
yeah.
We're going to do the when, right?
Yeah. What?
We're going to do the when.
You mean what? When what?
Meaning one of the on the left side we have the what, the performance, the effect, and the subject. On the left
Yeah.
side.
Oh, so this.
That's on the performance.
Yeah,
when,
on the performance. Yeah.
when.
Not on the text. It's on the performance.
On
We
the
assume it's
performance.
Vayomer.
And then
We assume.
Right.
Although it's funny because the Mishnah doesn't say Vayomer.
correct.
For all you know, maybe it's another. Or you know, I'm saying it because it's within Brochos, but we don't really know what the text is. That's one of the ideas that we have never really answered. You know what I'm saying? Is this the text Vayomer, or is this some other text? You know, what happens if a guy says before Shema, he actually says, you know, Mantiskos Yem Seiska Be'eretz Yisrael. He's been Mekayim the mitzvah. You know what I'm saying? And so on. So we never really clarified what is the text. Just that this is the preliminary ideas, you know. But each one of those, but like I say, the main thing is that you're prepared for an answer. Because remember, every chazal is nothing more than an answer to an unstated question. You need to state the question. And then you appreciate the answer. That it's really an answer to this. If not, then you never see what the real question was. So you never really see the issue in the category. You know what I'm saying?
Why is it that we say it by Shema? It says in Mitzrayim.
The who?
Why are we connecting it says in Mitzrayim to Shema?
Very good question. So, what's the answer?
Because we have to do both the nights, so we say
No.
we do them together.
Well, maybe, but no.
No.
Too arbitrary.
Okay.
It's got to be more solid. It's got to be like, you know. You know, it has to be more, what's called plausible. You know? What do you think? If it's Vayomer, the question is what? Why is this the text? Or, why is it connected to Kriya Shema?
They're both verbal statements of belief.
Yes. Yes.
Fundamentals of Amunah comes from Skira Tziyas and Tzrayim.
Yeah, but why connect it to a Kriya Shema? Just say it. It's a mitzvah to recite this. That's all.
Not that it's connected, it's just
Well, it
coincidence.
is. The real question is, why do we connect this? Why do we use Vayomer and connect it to Shema? There's two dinim here. Why do we use Vayomer when you can use other texts to be Makam the mitzvah of Zechli Tzis Mitzrayim? And number two, why connect it to Christ, Shema? What do I forget? You're going to forget, therefore they want to make sure you don't forget. So if we tie it, so what is it? Is it a harchok not to forget? Is that why? Or there's something, a true connection?
Right, what does that have to be a whole parsha? You could say a pasuk, right?
Yeah, Leman Tizko says Mitzrayim. What's the name? What Ben Zaymet did?
Or Ani Hashem Elokecha Masha says yet. Right.
Same question goes in tzitzis. Why tzitzis?
Oh, so what are you really saying?
It's all one thing.
Well, clearly they picked out the place of Mitzrayim, a parsha that also has tzitzis. Oh, so let's work on that. Why tzitzis?
Remembrance also. Zechira too.
That's right.
It's supposed to remind about mitzvahs.
Oh, why mitzvahs?
V'haya. V'haya is mitzvah.
V'hoya. Remember I said, what is Shema? What is Shema? Really? It's what?
Kabbalah Samach Shmai.
It's
And-
more than that. It's a statement of what?
Belief.
It's a belief statement. That's what it is. Right? That's what Shema is. What are the beliefs? One.
One.
No.
Hashem is one.
No.
There is a God.
There is a God.
Oh, I skipped it.
Let's get that. Yeah. There's a supreme being. One. Two.
He's my God.
He is one.
He's one.
3.
Mine.
Who?
Mine.
You could say that.
He's
One
the
is
one.
my God. Okay. Okay, new. Okay.
He's a melech.
Oh, he's a king. He's a melech. He interacts with the Bria. He's a God that's one, but he doesn't have nothing to do with the Bria. He's a king. That's the 3rd statement. 4th statement.
Ahava.
No.
I accept his rules.
He's my king. He's not your king. He's my king. You accept his sovereignty. That's Kabbalah's Ul Malchus Shemayim.
So that's the last.
No. So what do we have? There's a supreme being. He is one. He is a king. He's my king, which means I accept his sovereignty. And in what form does a kingship, what's the expression of his malchus?
Mitzvahs.
Mitzvahs.
Oh.
And therefore, v'hoya shemoah.
And therefore, by
Tishma
Yomer,
mitzvah.
to remember.
And therefore, right?
Yomer.
So, which is an important statement of the belief that the manifestation of his malchus is commandments. Now, once we have that, so what's the mitzvah that sums up all the commandments? Tzitzis. Voila, as they say in French.
So how do we get
There you
to
are.
How
What?
do we get to this?
Oh, so what Chazal did? No, so they took a Vayomer, which is tzitzis, that also has Yitzias Mitzrayim.
No,
How
but
does
how does
this-
this system fit into the whole picture now? Because so far we drew the whole picture.
Yeah. No, well, so that answers why that pasha.
How do you
Right?
say this has how do you say that?
U'isma, so it's chatem is kol mitzvahs Hashem again. Right? V'hoyo, knaf shel tcheles. It's a mitzvah of tzitzis. And the mitzvah of tzitzis really is the simon of all the mitzvahs, because that's what it really is. U'isma tzoi, chatem is kol mitzvahs Hashem. You know, and mamash that, you know. So therefore we understand why this is connected, you know. But really, in terms of tzitzis, it wouldn't be connected. It's just that it was incredibly appropriate, because the real connection of Vayomer is Mitzrayim. But since but you know what I'm saying? But if Mitzrayim, so why not just say some other text? But since this has a text that clearly has all the mitzvahs, we might as well choose this for a text
Wow.
and then connect it.
Wow.
Perfect.
Wondering if anybody says it.
I don't know. I have no idea.
And also love it'll be a mitzvah tmidius, mitzvah tzitzis.
Will be a mitzvah tmidis.
Because also love is call a chama, call
Who?
the other chama. It's tzitzis is mishiyake. It's only
Well, that's the haskola. Yeah,
as a
that's
scholar.
that's when you can begin to put it on. So,
Yeah, it's only by yom.
yeah, it's just only beyond. Yeah. That's why you see, by the way, the fact that tzitz is only biyoim, that's why you know that the real choice of tzitzis is because of Mitzrayim. You know? But once it was the real reason for this particular text is Mitzrayim. But they chose a text, even though it's part of Belayla, because it also encompasses the whole concept of all the mitzvahs. So it achieves two purposes. But the real concept of that text of Vayoma, the real necessity is really the concept of, what do you call it, Mitzrayim.
It's still not answering of why Chazal chose to attach it to Kriyishma. The Mitzrayim to Kriyishma.
Yeah, okay, we can, it's for, you know, I think you said it. It's a very important fundamental belief statement. You know,
But trying to
that he took us out, and that whether it be Akaras or Toiv, or it's just a fundamental belief that there is in Egypt, that we were slaves and he took us out, and therefore, you know.
No, there's more, because the freedom is really, that's when we can perform mitzvahs. Mitzrayim, we're not doing mitzvahs. I mean, we are forced to do whatever we're forced to do. It's we're going through oppression.
But there was mitzvahs in Egypt.
Yeah, but that's not the main avoid. The main avoid is just to survive and just to tolerate, just to
Yeah,
you
but
know.
still, there was as long as the mitzvahs, you can't. There's no chiddush of mitzvahs here.
Let me say it says
No,
Mitzrayim.
Shem mitzvah b'nei was also, even though it's not min Torah, there was still mitzvahs in that sense. You know.
It says Mitzrayim is the Mechayev.
Who?
Didn't say Mitzrayim is the Mechayev.
Yeah. That's why they chose. That's why is the Mechayev. Why does it have to be connected to Nishma? I'd say it's a fundamental belief. You know.
No, I want to say that.
And why this
connected
text?
because Mechayev.
Because of the tzitzis. You know
What I
what I'm
want to say is that
Does that mean? I mean, it could be somebody else going to say different. That's fine. You know, but what we're doing is we're working with Svaras to understand the logic of the text. Why here? Why this? Etc. You know. So I'm sure there'll be Meforshim that will have their own days and so on. You know.
I heard of Shlomo Zaman Auerbach told someone that Svaras are not the fifth chelek in Shulchan Aruch.
Or not?
It comes before the first chelek.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we have a good handle. Now, how many statements are there in the Mishnah? What's the fourth thing we have to do? How many statements are there in this Mishnah? So when you want to memorize it, you know. Right? So what do we have? Maskin says Mishnah Beleilos, 1. Rabbi Eliezer's statement, Kmen Shish and Shiv and Shana, right?
Derivation.
You could say that is 2, because that's an interesting concept. But there's a Chisi is 3, Ben Zoim is 4, and the Chomen's response is 5. So there are 5 statements, so to speak, in this Mishnah. You know what I'm saying? So when you now put it down to memory, there are 5 different statements that you have to have down.
Isn't that interesting how this Mishnah starts? I mean, usually a Mishnah like this would have started straight from Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah.
Well,
The way it starts, Maskir says Mitzvah Veleilos. Here's the Maskana.
yeah, but why does it say my why? Yeah, why?
Like just skip.
Skip what?
Meaning a Mishnah, I would very well see a Mishnah start straight from Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, Lo zachis Shem eses Mitzrayim Veleilos.
Yeah.
Asher Asher ben Zoima.
Yeah.
And then we clearly understand that the Maskana is.
Okay, so why does it say Baskir? Why does it start out this way?
It starts with the fact, with the halacha, and then we go into the derivation. It's just
Well,
like not-
what it shows you is that Rebbe agrees with Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah.
Oh.
That's one. And this is the given. Now, let's go into the whole give and take of this, how he arrived at this halacha. So it shows Maskir, it means the Stam Mishnah, means Rabbeinu HaKadosh, he held that this was the Shita. Now we can go into the whole, issue of this and so on. You know what I'm saying?
It is uncommon, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's the what do you call it, the Tanakama or whatever, without mentioning name,
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah saying it? Lav Davka. That was the issue that was brought up. How do we justify this? Okay. So I think we have reached a certain Havana, clarity, like we back and forth and all over the place, right? So we have the preliminary ideas to this Mishnah. We understand the central idea. We know the central idea, the area, right? Right? And we now know the amount of statements. And we've added also the concept of some of the hashkafa. The hashkafic connections. For anything else, we are now prepared to look at the Meforshim. Isn't that interesting?
Can we sum up the Perek now?
Sum up the Perek? You tell me.
Uh-oh.
Sum up the Perek. What's this Perek all about?
Kriyashma and its extensions.
Accompaniments. It's called.
Well, what was the first Mishnah? Just look at the central ideas.
Right.
What was the first Mishnah?
When? Was when to read the time period
the two-
for Kriyashma.
The evening, the first one was the evening time period.
Right.
When does it begin and when does it end?
Central.
Second Mishnah was
The daytime Kriyashma.
morning time
Yes, the
period.
beginning,
When does it begin? When does it end? So that clearly is about time periods. Third Mishnah.
Position.
Well, positional requirement. Is there or is there not a position requirement? And that included the severity of not holding like this. Fourth Mishnah.
Extension, Brochos.
accompaniments. The concept of all the Brochos. It's an accompaniment that accompanies Shema. And the fifth Mishnah is...
Also, accompaniment. And just another one.
So this fourth and the fifth Mishnah is about what?
Covenants.
Accompaniment.
Well, is that text
Essential
or performance?
Text.
Text, correct. What is Kriya Shema consist of?
Yeah.
And the first two Mishnahs are when? And the third Mishnah was position. How?
We have the whole Perek.
Yeah, that's it. It's all bad. You know how easy it is to remember Mishnahs this
So
way?
what's the central idea of the Perek?
Well, it's the central idea of the Perek is what?
Kriya Shema.
Krishma.
It's all about Shema. I mean, because the first two are about when, the third Mishnah is how, or what position, if there
And
is
then
any.
what?
And the other one is text.
What, when,
One
and how?
text is accompanying Brochos, and the second text is Mitzrayim. That's it. The whole first paragraph. If you look at the central ideas of every Mishnah, you can't believe how quick you're going to go through Brochos. Look how quick you can do it. Because, it's no more fragments. See, the key is get away from fragmentation. As long as you're fragmented, it's going to be murder to remember. But if you centralize all the halachas into one concept, which is a central idea, and you understand that, then immediately everything follows from each central idea. You immediately see the amount of statements, and you see the whole Perek in front of you. And eventually you can do the second Perek and third Perek, and you're going to see every single halacha that the Mishnah talks about. You see, that's the objective is to achieve a tremendous clarity.
Can we do the next Mishnah just to have some
Fine.
haschola before?
Good. How you curb the Torah? Who's saying?
Go ahead again, sir.
Who's going to say how you curb the Torah?
Me?
Okay.
I קורא בתורה, והגיע הזמן המקרא, ימכרים לבו יצר ומלאב בו יצר. So he was reading Torah, and the zman of Kriya Shema has come. So he has a kavona, means he mechamen to do mitzvah. So he's yoytze by this Kriya. If not, he's not yoytze by the mitzvah.
Stop.
Stopped.
Good. So that's the first.
So it's a requirement of kavona. It's how it goes
We're
under
still talking about
how.
Kriya Shema.
It's what?
We're still calling it the second Perek also talks about Kriya Shema.
Yeah.
It's
So then
how.
what's the first Perek?
Intent.
Also Krishma.
It has to have an individualized central idea.
The central idea is if Mexico is going on that.
Intent.
It's the Perek.
No, but before that, it's how. First is how. Condition. Like
Does this Mishnah deal with text or performance?
performance.
Performance. What's the performance?
Mind kavona requirement. How to say it?
Intent.
Mind intent requirement. Yeah.
Intent is a specific what?
Condition.
It's
Yeah.
It's a requirement.
No. I need the area. Intent is a type of
Recital.
dotted lines.
How many letters?
Who?
How many letters?
I'll give you a hint. It's 2 words. You see what happens, everybody zeroes either into the fragment or into the detail. Always try to think general. And then all of a sudden it's much clearer. Always try to think either general or, another word for general is, generic. Once you have that, then you know exactly where it fits.
So what do we generalize?
So he said the word intent, everybody says the word intent.
Mind state.
But who?
Mind state. Again,
Great.
Zero in.
Intention is nothing more than a type of
State of mind.
state of mind. Correct. So the question that this Mishnah deals with, is there a required state of mind that has to accompany the text?
And the answer is yes, has to be state of mind.
Because what's happening here? In any given performance, wow.
Never to.
In any given performance, there are 2 dimensions occurring. Yes? And this is really going generic. General. Which could use Kolater Kula. In any given performance, there's always at least 2 things going. 2 dimensions. One is
The activity.
the activity or the action. Action is a better word than activity because activity is larger. The action itself
And state of mind, yeah.
and the state of mind toward that action. Exactly.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the sentence.
In any given activity, the action, there's always two dimensions occurring at the
Every
same
murder.
time. Who?
Every murder in American and the
Every who?
Every murder. Every
Murder?
crime
Every
Every
crime.
crime.
Make sure. Yeah.
in American. The
Is
crime.
what? Is
There's an action
and there is a
and the state of mind.
state of mind.
If that's when sanity is a big defense.
Yeah. Why is that? Because in order to be what?
Guilty.
Accountable.
Oh, in order to be guilty or culpable. Yes? The law requires that beyond the action itself, it has to be accompanied with a specific state of mind.
So you
If you
both.
do the action, you need both. If you do the action, but you lack the proper state of mind, which is called either you knew you were committing a crime, or you knew that this was a crime, it's all kinds and so on, and then then both. So therefore, any given performance has an action, a physical action, and a mental state. How many mental states are there, gentlemen?
4 or 5.
3.
4 or 5?
Three.
3. What are they?
Positive.
No. Oh, I see what you're saying. Positive,
Shegeg
negative.
mezi doinas.
Who?
Shegeg mezi doinas. In
You
English?
just want to, well, how many states of mind are there, basically?
Let's just mention
Aware, non-aware.
Who?
I
Aware
would
or
say two.
non-aware?
Yeah.
Who?
I would say two.
What are they?
It's there or not there with your mind.
Aware or non-aware?
There or not there can encompass far more than just there or not there. What does there mean? How are you there? Let me ask you. How are you there?
Your
And
mind
then we'll
is
know how
engaged.
you're not there.
Your mind is engaged in the current activity.
No, that's...
Aware of what's going on.
No. What?
Awareness.
So what does awareness mean?
The
What does
different
awareness
levels.
mean? You know what you're doing. Means I know I'm doing this.
No,
Engaged
action,
in
not
the
necessarily.
action. You're engaged in the action.
No, forget engaged. I know, I'm aware of what I'm doing. That's awareness.
Right.
What else is there?
Volition.
Who?
Volition.
Volition. Yeah, you
I
know
know.
because
This is not accurate.
Okay.
It's too fancy.
Good.
What is it? How do you spell that word?
Volition. VOLITION.
TIO.
Volition means free will. You're not compelled. You're doing something
Oh,
freely.
in violation.
No.
Okay, volition.
Volition. So, what is that called? In Torah, if you're aware of what you're doing and not aware, what's that called?
Amazing.
If you are not aware, what's that called?
Misasek.
Who?
Misasek.
Misasek. No. Misasek. Misasek means I'm not aware. If
What
you
action
are
is it?
aware, what's it called? That's a good question.
It's a
actually.
shogig.
No.
Not
Are
misasek.
No.
Misasek.
There's no term. There's
We're going to get to that in a minute. No.
So you show your
What?
If you know it's Shabbos,
Let's
you know
call
it's
it
Shabbos, you
your
don't know
day.
it's-
Your day.
Right, general
So
idea, yeah. There's no
Yeah.
legal, there's no legal term.
Another
Yeah.
whole dimension.
It's not
Wait.
necessary.
Or aware.
Okay.
We're talking about the
So
action here.
you're either misasek or you're ain't misasek, right? Which means you are aware of what you're doing. That's the first state of mind. What's the second state of mind? Well, you wanted to say you are either compelled, which means you are forced, or you're doing it freely, free will, right? Which is uncompelled, or and that's the category called volition. What is your volition? Were you forced to do this, or you did it out of your own free will? That's called volition. That's 2. 3. That's called what's that called in Torah?
Honest and Ratzon.
Oinus and Ratzon, exactly. If you're an oinus, you're compelled, and if you're Ratzon, you are uncompelled. You did it because you want to do it. That's number 2. Number 3. Come on, guys.
Shogeg
3.
mezi.
Shaking amazing. What's a shaking amazing?
Intended
No.
result.
No.
Intentional
What is
or, intentional or
No. What's the intent or non-intent is in Hebrew called
Purpose.
who?
With
Who?
the purpose.
What's it called? What's the
Kavanah.
term? Who?
It's
Kavana?
Mischavein
Mischavein.
or
Purpose.
ein
Ein
mischavein.
mischavein.
There you are. That's intent. What does it mean to have intent?
aware of the legal consequence.
No. What's
That's what
intent?
the action is.
You intended to do
I
something. What
know
does that
what you
mean?
do.
What?
You know what you
No.
do?
No,
we had
no,
problems
that's
Yedaya.
misasik. What?
That's your day.
You misasik intent. No. What does it mean to intend?
I know the purpose of my action.
Yeah, it's purpose.
It's not
Means
a
I'm
purpose.
doing something with specific purpose. I intend to do this, right? Means I want to do this for a specific purpose.
Wasn't so.
But not because I want to die. I mean,
No, ain't misasik. No, excuse me, ain't mischaven. A guy's walking on the grass on Shabbos, right? And as he's walking, he's pulling out the roots, the grass.
so he knows. He's
What's
aware
that
of it.
called? He's aware, he knows he's pulling out grass, but he doesn't intend to do that, he just wants to walk. He's not into pulling out grass, that's an Einem Schaven. See that? Okay, that's 3. Number 4, Shoygig Gemezid, that's number 4. What is a Shoygig Gemezid? We know it's not intent, we know it's not volition, and we know it's not awareness. Pray tell, what is it? What's left?
It's the awareness of legal consequence.
Very good, exactly. Do you know the significance legally of what you're doing? So if you're amazed, yeah, I know the Torah said no. I know the Einish, and so on. And if a guy doesn't know what he knows he's doing it, but he doesn't know that this is awesome in a Torah. That's called a shoygeg. Then the question is, what type of shoygeg? I didn't know it was asa. I knew it was asa, but I didn't know it was chorus. I knew it was chorus, but I didn't know it was misa b'dei other. Yeah, there's different levels. Shoygeg is what? What's it called in English?
Unintentional.
Ignorant. He was ignorant of the law. He didn't know. So there are 4 mental states. Isn't that interesting?
Can I add one more?
That always. You want to add one more? What's that?
Motive.
Motive.
Lishma, shalai lishma.
No, that well, but that would be
That's
that would be intended. Intention.
You can have.
If you're doing something with shmor, that's what's in your mind. What's your intent? That's intention. Lishmor, shalai lishmor is a type of intention. Is your intention in accordance with what the Torah says should be the intent, or not in accordance, but it's intention.
I can differentiate. If you have a sefer is writing a sefer Torah, it has to have kavanah l'shem sefer Torah. So that's going to be intent. I'm doing this for the purposes of writing a sefer Torah.
So that's intention.
But my motive is to sell it and make money.
No, your motive. No. That's your
that's
ultimate motive.
Ultimate
No.
motive. So
No, that's not the same.
There's
No,
a
why are you
lishma,
doing the
what's
questions?
my motive? And that's another.
No, that's
there is
called
a state. There's a
no. There are 2
ultimate
types of
motive.
intention in
Okay.
certain sense, or 2 types of purposes. There's what's called the immediate purpose, and there's the ultimate purpose, or the remote purpose. No, you have to distinguish in time,
Okay.
but it's still intent. You understand? So therefore, we now know that every performance has 2 things going. It has the action, and it has the state of mind.
Classical
Right?
shoygig.
So what is this Mishnah now all about? See, look what we've done. We've broadened
That's amazing.
the whole idea of state of mind as part of performance. So in comes the Mishnah and says, what's the performance? Torah. Yes? He's reading the text, no problem here. But what's the problem now? Oh, wait, what's this guy's state of mind? Do you need a state of mind? Or nothing? That's the question. So this Mishnah is the what? Is the requirement for what state of mind do you need to do what?
To be Yitzhak.
To fulfill the obligation. Correcto. Exactly. But you see the difference now. We now know exactly what the Mishnah is trying to
Another
do.
question. One regular shoygig, I mean classical shoygig, the guy was chopping the wood. And
Chopping the who?
The wood.
Chopping
The wood.
Wood.
Yeah.
Oh, he was chopping the wood.
So there, it's not that he. There's a
A
shoygig.
guy is chopping wood.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah, what happened?
Now. So what's
Then the thing flies out and kills somebody. Right.
Oh,
but
okay.
that doesn't fit out our definition.
Sure it does. Unintended.
Unintended what?
He knew that ships could fly. When you
No,
chop
but
wood,
how do you define shoygig? We define shoygig differently.
No. Well, he knew he can't murder somebody, so he clearly knew it was us to murder
Right.
somebody.
Right.
No, it's a problem of intention. It was unintended. He never intended that a ship should fly
No,
out.
but according to our
and kill
definition, it's not
somebody.
shoygig according to our definition.
It's not shoygeg.
How did we define shoygig?
Shoygeg is knowledge. You have
Well,
you have knowledge of the
Not just legal consequences, but
consequences
he
of
is
the
different.
fact.
It's not that he's missing. It's
No, there's no
it's not
shoygeg.
legal
amazing.
consequences.
No, it's called shoygeg, but it's not really the classic case of shoygeg. You know,
I mean, that's
he knows
what-
not kill. No, it's not shoygeg. It's either
It was that.
I want to tell you
Yeah.
something. The word mazid.
Sounds like maybe.
When you use the word mazid, you really mean all four. You know that. Mazid is a word that means not only do I know the legal consequences of this, but I'm aware, I know the consequences, I intended, and boy did I want to do it. Right? 4 ideas in Mazid. The word Mazid is really can be used twice.
Conglomerate.
Aggregate.
Exactly. That's you have to be careful. When it says that, you're only chayav if you're b'mezid or b'mezid. There are 4 states of mind. B'mezid then means you need all 4. That's what mezid. So a mezid really means, what's the word? Just 1 second. Deliberate. You deliberately did this act, which means you were aware, you knew, wanted to do, and you want to do it. It's deliberate. And that word encompasses all 4. So
shogeg here is missed in a loose
it's
sense.
a loose, yeah.
It's not mazed and then whatever the parameters are.
Technically, it's not a shogeg.
Right.
Because you can't kill somebody.
It's like a masasik type of thing.
No, he was aware he was chopping.
Maybe Shalom is
No, he was chopping, and you chop wood. You know that it could be stuff can fly out. It's not like Here's a classic case of misasik. I see something in the ground, and I cut it. What? But I thought it was not attached to the ground. Those I find out it's attached. You see, it's tolish. I thought it was tolish. I cut it, and I find out it was mechuba.
One is not aware of action.
Correct. I'm not even aware. I was not aware that I was severing. Mm-hmm. I knew I was cutting, but I didn't know I was severing. Severing is the act of what? Of disconnecting something.
He's mazed, but Shalom is coming.
He's he knew that severing is osa,
right.
But he's not. He was not masasik. He didn't know that he was doing it. That's a masasik. It's clearly 4 different mental states.
So how do we call this in this Mishnah now? How do we call this state?
This. Well,
it's not only Shema.
What is the unstated question, or what category does this Mishnah fit? That's the central idea. It's not easy always to get a central idea. See, again, you need to go generic. You need to go bigger than the Mishnah, or else you can be fragmented. So this Mishnah is dealing with what? The second dimension of any given performance. Specifically, what is the second dimension, which is the mental state or state of mind of saying Kriya Shema? So we have here a problem here. He's Korah Torah. There's no problem of text. He's reading the right text. You know what I'm saying? But what about his mind? He's not reading this because he wanted to read Kriya Shema. He was reading Korah Torah with Samazoi. Mm-hmm. So the question, what's his state of mind? Is there a requirement of state of mind when you are into performance with the correct text? So here the cheson is not the text. Here the cheson is, what's the state of mind? So the Mishnah says, in kivein loiboy, whatever that means. If he was mechaven, he's yotza. Loi lo yotza. So that's the question. What does kivein liboy mean? But the main idea is we now understand what this Mishnah is dealing with. It is dealing with the second dimension of performance. Is it the text? And what's the state of mind toward that, you see? Now you'll have this in every concept of performance. If you build a sukkah, what are you going to do? You build the sukkah. But also, are you putting up the schach with the intent to do what? To perform the mitzvah of sukkah? Right? You see? Right. That's why we're machlikas, Shammai Beis Hillel. That's the Mishnah in sukkah. When you do a korban, yes? What's your state of mind? Do you know what this korban is? What's that mean? I didn't know it was a chatas. I knew it was a korban, but I didn't know what type of korban was.
The kohen.
Who?
The kohen.
The kohen, yeah. There you need to know what type of korban. Not only it is a korban. If you didn't even know it was a korban, you know what I'm saying? So which cheson is that? Who? Intent. Yeah. You're lacking intent, and one of the requirements of intent by a korban is you need to know what is the process, because that's what the chatas is. It's a process. What is the process of that this korban has to go through? And you have to know for whom, which is called the subject of the korban. Right? There you are. Again, there you are. Intent, which the first mission is Vachim. And Menachos.
And for whom is also part of intent?
No. Well, yes. He has to know Hashem Zevach and Hashem Zevach. That's the above. I'm just saying, what we've done is very important. We've taken a generic, and we now can apply to Kol Torah Kula. With the Kriya Shema, so there's no text problem because Koreh B'Torah. What's state of mind? So this first part of the mission is all about states of mind. What is the required state of mind to be Yotzei? There you are.
Yeah, so it applies to both. That's a chiddush. It applies to both asay and loitza asay. And we all those steps about kavana apply to either a mitzvah asay like kashama or tefillah,
Yeah.
or to a loitza asay like a melacha or a korban.
Yeah.
It applies.
Well, if
either way.
either way. Yeah, that's
Any action has a intent. You said.
every performance has two dimensions: a physical dimension and a mental dimension.
Mental dimension.
Yes? There you are. What have we done? We've created a generic concept. Very important.
Where do we fit that?
All
in
from what? Just from a Mishnah. You see?
How do we fit that in the structure?
On the Shema. On the
Yeah.
Shema, right?
How?
And you have to put
Right.
state of mind.
Where?
Well,
the
it's
column?
not. No, when you got to add
On the performance?
Yeah.
State of mind?
Sure.
Oh, it's performance.
Meaning performance, physical, and mind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah,
Physical
you
mind.
exactly.
You divide it in two.
You put two things. You see? And you do this by thinking. There's no Pirish that's going to tell you this. They can just go into the concept of what's Kivan Liba, they're into it already. We don't want to get into it. We need to understand the big picture. What's happening here? You see? And the Havana is a whole different Havana. You see? Now we can play around with it. You see what I'm saying? Think is what I'm suggesting. It's amazing what the mind... What?
Is that your intent?
That's my intent. Yes.
Is that ultimate?
No, but, when I'm always trying to put, you have no idea what thinking can do for you. It's before the pollution. When you get to the pollution, they'll tell you, okay, what's the specific intent or state of mind you have to have. What happens if you're not aware? What happens if you're reading Shema, and you're not even aware it's Shema? Well, let's say you didn't even know it was a mitzvah in Torah. You see, well, how do they know playing to the Kiyama mitzvah? What happens if you're compelled? Some guy puts a gun to you and says, okay, excuse me, it's Shema or death? Which is it? Are you Yaitse?
It's a very interesting question.
No, I'm just saying that because what we've done is we've gone beyond the Mishnah. And not only that, what are we now going to do? What about, wait a minute, Rabbi Stein, what about this stuff? How many mitzvahs are there in Shema now? 3.
Yeah.
Brocha accompaniment, Mitzrayim accompaniment, and Shema. What about intent by the other 2? Oh, what happened over here, right? Because we've divided the 3. Do the Brochos have to have intent of something like that? Do you have to have intent to be Yitzis Mitzrayim? It's on, see? Yeah, because we've now come up with a new category. Oh. Next week.